Now ask yourself, does having more money make us happier? NewsHour economics correspondent Paul Solman went in search of answers. It's part of his ongoing reporting, Making Sense of Financial News.
The University of California at Berkeley, a key location for one of the hot new subfields in economics, happiness studies. But despite living in the wealthiest economy in the history of the world, Americans are a surprisingly unhappy lot. Christine Carter is a sociologist at Berkeley's Greater Good Science Center.
Usually what we see across countries is that as GDP goes up, happiness goes up, or subjective well-being tends to go up. And the U.S. is kind of a notable case in the sense that in the last 35 years, as GDP has grown, we actually haven't seen our average happiness level go up.
We've been following this line of research for years. Research that studies the psychological and physiological effects of growing economic inequality. As economist Bob Frank, in his 1999 book Luxury Fever, wrote,
concern about position is a very deep-seated part of the human brain chemistry.
So deep-seated that stressing over it can be harmful to your health, as British epidemiologist Michael Marmot wrote in his 2004 book, The Status Syndrome.
Health and disease are the good and bad effects of where you are in the hierarchy, mediated by the effects of chronic stress.
And according to another British epidemiologist, Richard Wilkinson, in his 2011 book, The Spirit Level, the greater the degree of economic inequality, the worse an entire nation's welfare.
Societies with bigger income differences between rich and poor do worse on a whole range of measures. They have worse health, they have more violence, they have more drug problems, standards of child well-being are worse.
But even if average happiness hasn't risen, those atop the economy should be content, since they've prospered as never before. Turns out they're not happier either.
When you grow up in lower class backgrounds and lower class circumstances, there's just more difficulty in your environment, there's more unpredictability, there's more risk, there are more threats. And what we've learned from really interesting neuroscience is that humans, in the face of threat, connect to other people. And then complementarily, we thought, you know, if you grow up in a more privileged circumstance, you orient inwards to what's inside of you. And those are two fundamentally different ways of approaching the world.
Being lower in socioeconomic status is a two-sided coin. You get the risk, but you also get the protection.
Rudy Mendoza-Denton also teaches psychology.
You put a ladder on a piece of paper and you say, okay, relative to other people in the United States, where would you place yourself along these 10 rungs? And that measure has strong predictive effects for health.
The higher up you are,
the better you are. It matters not only whether you are objectively wealthy or higher in social class, but how you feel relative to other people.
So feeling low can mean greater stress, worse health, more unhappiness. But, says Mendoza-Denton, there's a protective strategy.
Being lower in social class, almost by definition, makes it so that you can't control your outcomes. The way that people who are lower in social class cope with that is by relying on the things that they know they can expect to be there. And what do people know they can expect to be there? Their friends, their family, their community.
For eons, we've thought of happiness as a personality trait, and it's actually much more appropriate to think of it as a skill or a set of skills that we can teach ourselves, that we can teach our children, that we can practice with them.
More and more research confirms what they're finding here at Berkeley, says Christine Carter. Not that those who have less are happier, but that those who have and spend more are often just speeding up the happiness treadmill.
The wealthier you are, the more money you spend on stuff that increases your sense of what you need in life. And that can be a little bit of an addictive cycle that does not bring happiness. Likability and kindness and empathy, these are things that make you happy. They connect you to other people, and that's the most important thing.
And you can see more of Paul's conversation with Christine Carter on our Making Sense page. In his next story, Paul examines more about the psychology of wealth.